For this one, I'm going to show you how I like to use Melodyne and just certain things that I feel like you should know. If I miss anything, make sure you comment below and just give out some tips that maybe I'm missing. So let's get to it. Stop with all of that, he said, she said, they say, you said. Stop with all of that, he said, she said, they say, you said. Girls up with all that, girls up with all that. Alright, so I got this R&B song that I actually went live with, and honestly, if you can see, the artist is pretty on point, and I'm gonna show you how you can kind of like read Melodyne. But for now, just know he's pretty much in key. So in the original mix, I did not use Melodyne. I feel like he didn't need Melodyne, but for a singer that may need it, I just, you know, kind of show you like what to look for, what to pay attention to, and, you know, go from there. All right, so how I like to use Melodyne, I like to use Melodyne at the end of the mix, or at least when I got the vocal how I kind of want it to sound, and then I kind of like fix issues at the end with the vocal. I know some engineers, like the engineer that I learned from, he actually does it in its own program and then he transfers it into Pro Tools. But this is my workflow, so I'm just going to show you how I work in it. So really, this would be something that I do at the final stage. So first thing you want to do is you want to make sure that this right here will be the same key of the instrumental. It's kind of like auto tune, but it's not auto tune. You know, this is manual tune pretty much. You want to make sure just whatever key that this instrumental is in that you're working on, make sure it's in that key. And say if you already added auto tune on it before you even applied Melodyne, just match it with the auto tune. Trust me, just match it with the auto tune. Everything is going to be as one. You know, definitely don't have two different keys. If auto tune is not in the same key as Melodyne, you already in the wrong direction. So cool, we got that. Make sure it's in the key. Now I'm going to give y'all a cheat code that once I finally learned this changed the game for me. So I was going to give this to you early in the video. This right here, pitch grid on and off, right? You make sure that's on. You right click. Main thing you want to focus on when it comes to vocals, I don't know if it would be for like instrumentals. I don't know how that would really work. I don't really use Melodyne for instrumentals. I'm pretty sure it's probably the same. I like key snap. I go into key and then I just like note names, and those are my settings. Those are just my settings that I use. I think it defaults into like chord or chord scale. It just wasn't these settings, and once I fixed that, it was a lot easier for me, and I'm going to tell you why it was a lot easier for me. So you know, in FL Studio, you know how you kind of have like that that detect the key. So I like to know and give myself reassurance that I'm always in key at all times. What these settings do pretty much is everything that's white is in key. Anything that's gray is out of key. You're going to want to manually do this because some parts of the record don't need to be perfectly tuned. And if you do that, you're going to take away the feeling. So I kind of like use this, but don't like overuse it, as you can really mess up your vocal. Like one little knob, one little turn, you can really mess up your vocal before you even make it better. So we got that. Now that's the cheat code. Anything that is white is in key. Anything that is gray is out of key. Now I'm gonna go ahead and click this and just break this down for you. So boom. So the main thing that I look at when I have this vocal is you can look here honestly and see it just says +4. That's not bad. All right, so you have a couple ways of how you can just approach the vocal, but again, I'm gonna show you how I approach the vocal. So what I usually like to do is just make sure that I'm here in this pitch tool, which how you get to this menu is you just right click on the mouse anywhere on here. Pretty much this will pull up, right? Now I'm not really going to break down every single thing in here, as in I don't use every single thing in here. I'm only going to show you again what I use in here the most and why I use them. So usually this is my best friend, pitch tool. Now you see these little lines came up, look a little fancy. Now what I usually like to do is just double click. It's going to censor it completely in tune pretty much. So it's not going to be a big adjustment because this artist was pretty much on key. You see it's only +4 here. Now if you go up to like 50, you go into a whole nother key pretty much. Say he was around here, we would want to straighten it up and take it here because he's not in key. He's kind of more out of key. Again, if he was down here, you would want to again take him in key, put him in key. And again, me telling you about that little white key and the dark keys, that's going to be your biggest cheat code of like, you know where you're going. Now say if you were to perfectly center this vocal, say if this vocal was kind of slightly up here, and I'm making this as an example, say it was like +30, and I want you just to kind of pay attention to these numbers. Say it was +30 and it actually sounded decent, but it just needed a minor adjustment, right? Sometimes you just got to go down 10. If you perfectly put it on key, sometimes it takes the whole feeling out of the vocal, where you just want to like kind of straighten it up. So again, we already heard how the artist sounds and he can sing. Like this artist can sing. Like honestly, honestly, like on scale, he pretty much got an A+. Like if you see, like this is the closest thing that's out of the scale that I'm seeing. Like that could have been adjusted probably, and I could have probably put it in scale. So just for instance, what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna put all these perfectly on scale, on and off, and just like hear the difference to see if that even makes a difference, because he's pretty much already perfectly on grid.
Stop with all of that, he said, she said, they said, you said, wait. Stop with all of that, he said, she said, they said, you said. Stop with all of that, he said, she said, they said, you said, wait. Stop with all of that, he said, she said, they said, you said.
So cool. I just wanted to show you how you could just like pretty much highlight everything, perfectly put it on grid. In my opinion, I like the original one. I say to do it by section by section. Don't just don't do this. You take this, you highlight this, and you put everything on grid. It's not gonna work out in your favor. Trust me. I've tried it a couple times and it never worked out. It always had me confused at the end, where I just like did a whole bunch of backspaces because I was like, okay, this is all out of order now. You know, the algorithm isn't perfect. The algorithm is just telling you where it thinks it can be, because for instance, some singers again aren't this good. Like they're not this good. So they're not gonna be like, they can literally be right off. Say the vocals here, it might guess that the vocal's supposed to be here when really it's supposed to be down here. That's kind of where you gotta again play by your ear, and you can get mixed up. Now that's probably the key part of what you really want to know. But I'm gonna show you the extra stuff just to really put you on and really give you the sauce. So pitch modulation tool. I'm not really good with like the phrases and stuff, but I feel like this makes everything smooth. And really, again, I go by numbers. So I honestly wouldn't go like under 70%. So like say this has a high, whatever you want to call this. I don't know what you call this. But to me, this looks like, okay, I could fix this. I can make this a little bit more just sharper. I think you call it a vibrato, but maybe I'm wrong. Like I don't know. I just go by ear, and I just know what I mess with when I touch this Melodyne plugin. Now let's go to pitch drift tool. But you see this thing here moving. Let me go ahead and zoom in for y'all. But I only go to about 70% down the most. I don't never ever go up. I've never really like felt the reason I had to go up on these type of settings. I've always went down to like tighten it up, because you're pretty much just loosen up the vocal if you go up, if that makes sense. You're like kind of releasing, but if you going down like in the percent, then you're kind of like tightening up the vocal. Like you're making the singer sound a little bit more sharp. You know what I'm saying? Use the main tool to highlight things, but honestly you could just go here and you can still highlight stuff. So, and then you can just, you know, still move things and do things how you want, right? But I just would rather be here and just do it. And just make sure you never, like say you have this and you accidentally double click, you're gonna take it and mess up the whole vocal. It might actually sound good. It's basically sound more auto-tuning. Like it would probably make it sound like really auto-tune, like 100% auto-tune. So if that's what you're looking for, then maybe that might work for you. But yeah, so you got the scrolls you got the scroll, which, you know, you just go left, right. I don't really use it because my mouse has a left, right on it. But yeah, you can scroll this way if you're trying to move and go that way, do your thing. Now your zoom tool is gonna be your best friend. I don't really know the quick keys for all of these, but if you just go left, you zoom out, you know, you can move around. Go right, you zoom in, you go up, makes it, you know what I'm saying? So I feel like once you learn it, it gets really down pat, and you'll be able to really like move the way you want and use this, right? So those are really the only things I use. I don't use the format tool, the amplitude tool, the time tool, but I do use the note separation tool. Now for note separation, let me zoom in because I would like to show you guys like a good example. So for the cut tool, say like the artist they're singing into another note separation tool will be perfect. Like, you know, you could use it for something like this because you see a dip, so you can kind of like cut right there and you see how that went down. So you can go here and then it's going to go down here, because basically this is kind of where in this section this artist vocal was kind of hitting. So these lines kind of is like your best friend. You see how much they were in key. Like these waves is your information, as you know, the waves up here is your information. But basically how I kind of wanted to break this down to y'all, just to show y'all like you don't need to be fooled by all of this stuff. I know it's other ways that you can use this, but once you use your ear to know what sounds good and, you know, is it good perfectly on key, should I push it up there, you know what I'm saying, you would kind of get you'll get it together, right? And then it's just about being working fast, because Melodyne is a lot of work and it's hard work. It's not easy. So I know what I just broke down to you might sound easy, but if you just focus on those things and, you know, you might build upon and figure out other things, then that's cool. You know what I'm I'm saying? Do your thing. Some people use up here also. I don't really use it. You know, you could do the snap the chord scale. I don't touch that up there. I'm this type of guy. I like to get in here, get nitty gritty and really touch the vocal. So honestly, that's my breakdown with Melodyne. I know a lot of people requested it. Hope I gave y'all some good examples of like how I would use it. Just be sure to like and subscribe, and you know we got more content on the way.
Stop with all of that, he said, she said, they say, you said. Stop with all of that, he said.